Hello, fellow YouTubers. After much arm twisting, it appears that I have been convinced to start my own YouTube channel dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons, because we're that big of dorks. I have been DMing for 4 years now, maybe a little longer. Rarely get to play a player, but when I do, it's always fun. I figured today I'd talk about players who love to hijack campaigns and who like to be disruptive in general. And a lot of people's first thought is that the evil player is often the hijacker of the group, or the disruptive one, and I've discovered that that is not often the case. In fact, quite often it can be the lawful good character who hijacks a campaign or spends 8 hours trying to build orphanages and reconstruct city governments. Vault Orange. Funny enough, I've stumbled across another idea from several other DMs, usually on the Order of the Stick website, also known as Giant in the Playground forums. Some people have come up with the idea of a third axis on the lawful to chaotic scale and the neutral good evil scale. The thought seems to be that DMs should have an axis to describe players as well, referred to as the disruptive to non-disruptive axis. I have been trying to employ that, although I don't at the moment have a way of punishing characters for it, though that may at some point have to happen. The idea is simple. You can be a lawful good paladin, but you don't necessarily have to be disruptive to the party. The easiest way to figure this out is to figure out what the overall party goal is, and then to, despite whatever your alignment is, to motivate your own character into heading down this path. An example would be a disruptive paladin, for instance, a lawful good paladin, can be very disruptive when the characters have to discuss something with a succubus. Now, Paladin's first reaction is smite evil, chop in half, burn to a cinder, and send back to hell. This doesn't work when the succubus was the only one who had the information you were looking for. So, right there you have a lawful good paladin who would otherwise be a great character to maybe have in a campaign, who would probably work very hard to get things done, and has just become the most disruptive element in the campaign. What do you do about this? Well, this is something on the player side that needs to be accomplished. The player has to find a way to motivate their character to look at a bigger picture. Maybe they're not necessarily turning the other cheek, but what's wrong with taking the succubus prisoner? What's wrong with imprisoning her until she tells you what you need to know? Or for that matter, what's wrong with turning your head while the rogue gets the information you need, and then coming back and smiting her after you've accomplished your mission? There's nothing wrong with that, and in that situation the paladin has not dealt with evil, has not cooperated in any sort of capacity with evil. I'll have to edit that out later. Now you have another similar situation where you have a rogue who is a thief. And I don't mean just in the sense that he's a rogue. I mean, he's a thief. He likes to steal things. He's maxed ranks open lock. He's maxed ranks, use magic device, the whole bit. He goes through all the effort of finding every trap, tracking down rich people, stealing things on the street, the whole bit. Now, how do you keep him from stealing from a magical store and becoming disruptive in that sense? Getting, an item that he shouldn't have for another 10 levels. As you can see, this can cause a problem when you have a rogue who's running around with level 10 armor and he's level 2. I always operate on the basis that shopkeepers have levels and will track your ass down. Or, for that matter, one of the best ways to do it is to actually establish some sort of city watch that can track players down and take things back.
Characters. Characters.
Track down.
Characters, not players.
Oh no, they can track players down. They're that good. Don't screw with the city watch. Put an enforcement in place. One of the fun things to do is to actually make that enforcement group encompass more than just one city. Have them encompass an entire country, an entire countryside, maybe a whole section, so that the players know that once they've betrayed them, once they've done something that has put them on the list of persona non grata, they are persona non grata for an entire area, an area that they very well have to play in and now deal with. That tends to keep people in line when they're thieves. Another problem that tends to erupt from rogues is that they like to steal amongst party. At that point, you may just want to allow player versus player. Unfortunately, the rogue also has sneak attack, so that'll lend itself to player versus player.
Killed our rogue.
That's true, she did kill our rogue. One of the things that you could do is, speaking of the rogues, one of the things that you can do is actually make items that are specific to each character. That makes it a lot harder for the rogue to be a good thief or to steal something that's usable if it's a wand of fireball. What's he supposed to do with a wand of fireball when he can't use magic device? What's a rogue supposed to do with a cloak of charisma? That's not going to do him any good. Now, at some point, magic items tend to be accumulative. You know, everyone has a ring of deflection. Everyone has a ring, gloves of dex. Everyone has an amulet of health. The trick is that the rogue at that point should have the option of specializing in his items versus just having the standard. So gloves of dex +2 are fine for the rest of the party. The rogue should have the option of getting gloves of dex +3, gloves of dex +4. Why would he bother stealing someone else's? Now, you could always say, well, the rogue could steal and sell it. Well, maybe he runs into the same problem where stealing stolen goods, or selling stolen goods in the town is a crime. Now he's on the shit list with the local city watch as well, and then his player gets tracked down and killed with a hammer gun. The point is that there's always ways to deal with it, but mostly motivation as to whether someone should be disruptive or not disruptive in a campaign tends to come from the player, and it tends to be affected through the character, and it is not something that the DM should try and take responsibility for unless he's trying to rectify the situation. I think for a player, they should really look to whether or not they've become disruptive, in the sense that is the rest of the party on board with what they're trying to do. That's a big one. If they're busy trying to go off and collect some item that it may or may not be important to their character for purposes unknown, maybe they heard about it, maybe there was a rumor, something to that effect, that the DM never intended to be blown out of proportion, and has nothing to do with the general quest. Why is the party going after this item? For instance, another scroll hijack. I had my players searching for all 100 Nether Scrolls, which they successfully found. But a situation developed in which our party rogue was looking for a specific person to teach him something, I believe. Present him with an item, something to that effect. It's been a long time. Party had no other reason to go, had no reason to go to this place. This was something that would have come up way farther down the line. This did not need to be accomplished anytime soon. But the rogue was hell-bent on accomplishing this goal. So what did he tell the rest of the party? Oh, let's go there. I've heard that there was another scroll. Outright lied to them, completely hijacked the campaign for that entire next 2 sessions, and took the party there. I, as a DM, had to run and scamper and come up with a reason for them to be there, introduce a way too powerful NPC slash benefactor way too early in a campaign, because the session got hijacked. And the comment at the end of that was when one of the players turned to me and said, "That wasn't very well planned. What happened? Why did you send us there if you didn't want us to go there?" And I said, "I didn't." I said, "Then why did you put another scroll there?" And I said, "I didn't." You know, and while the rest of the party did not have such a great time there, while the rogue had a blast. So one of the situations that develops when players hijack a campaign is that they need to ask themselves, is the rest of the party going to have fun if this happens? Sorry, my broadcast is being hijacked. You know, and they need to ask themselves at that point, is this a good idea? Should I do this? You know, what's going to happen here? The same happens when you have a character who literally walks around all of the town talking to every City Watch member, every shopkeeper, every single person he finds on the street, and asking them who their uncle is, where are they from, how old they are, where have they been, do they know this person, have you heard of my Uncle Steve? It leaves the players going, okay, as much fun as you walking around for 4 hours is doing absolutely nothing and getting us nowhere, can we please kill something? Can we please try something else? Can we please go somewhere? That can be disruptive. The same is true of a player who perhaps decides that their next step should be to actively reconstruct an entire city's governmental system, without any consideration as to if this is even beneficial in any way to the rest of the players, the quest, the campaign. The point what it comes down to is the players have limited time. Maybe the campaign has a limited amount of time, and when you waste an 8-hour session doing something that no other player gets to do anything with, it becomes problematic. It makes it not fun, and nobody wants to play. And it doesn't really matter class, character, race. Everyone is prone to this at some point and in different ways. So just be kind to the rest of your players, please. And try to think about it when you're sitting there and you're doing something and you're the only one who's been talking for an hour. If the rest of the players are even paying attention, if anybody's having any fun, because everyone should be actively involved at any given point. Signing out.